Hey, what's up? My name is Scott Woods. I do an annual miniature Halloween village every year, the past few years anyway, at Streetlight Guild, which is a nonprofit venue that I own that does performances and stuff. But for about 4 days at the end of October, right around Halloween time, every year I do this whole spread, this really intricate, laid out, big time spread. And so I just wanted to kind of introduce that to you before things get hectic and I start going off the deep end, because this year, I'm using all October to get it ready, because we had an enormous expansion this year. I'm doubling the size of it. It will be on 2 floors, in fact. And so I have a lot of work to do, a lot of decisions to make. But this is just kind of an introduction to how that started. And so basically what happened was I've always just been into Halloween. It's my favorite holiday of them all. Even when I was like super black militant, I was like, I don't know, I think we'd be able to hold on to Halloween, dog. But I would give out candy in my neighborhood, right? And at some point I was like, you know what? I have a few. At the time I had maybe 8 or 10 buildings, a couple of accessories. I was like, you know what? I don't really have no place to put this. I set it out like in the driveway on a table or whatever for trick-or-treaters to look at or whatever. And then what ended up happening, of course, was, half the time trick-or-treat gets rained out. The other half of the time, in my neighborhood anyway, the trick-or-treaters dried up. They would start going to other neighborhoods. They would go to trunk and treats, that kind of thing. And so I just packed all that stuff up. Again, it wasn't that much then, but it was enough, right? And I just put it in the basement and just had to wait and see what would ever come of it. And then when I opened Streetlight Guild, it didn't start right away, but I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. And so I started setting up the display proper at Streetlight Guild. And that would take about a week to set it up, which frankly is not enough time. But I was doing so much learning in the first year and last year and just trying to figure out how to make it work, how to make it look good. It's a hobby that has turned into an event, right? But it's still very much a hobby. I don't work on it in January and February. I'm not hardcore like that. And that's because my setup is temporary, right? A lot of the people who do this hobby, they're dedicated. Like, they're year round. They're doing YouTube videos, they're doing instructional videos, and they are like really sharing the hobby and that kind of thing. And they're all, doing videos about, oh, here's what's coming this season. And all, it's like that. It's deep like that. And so, but they do it at home. They don't do it in the public, most of them. And so they get to leave it up or set it aside, or they have the basement dedicated or whatever. I do not do that, right? My setup is only up for less than a week. And so I actually use lots of techniques and materials and things that I learned when I used to do model railroading. And so a lot of that stuff I apply to this to kind of give my display an extra level of sheen, because the model railroading stuff is generally permanent. Right? People who model railroad. Like, it don't move. That's where it is. That part of the house is just the train room. It's permanent. And so I apply some of those permanent skills to this temporary display in the interest of kind of just making it look better and not like everybody else's Halloween display. Because frankly, a lot of us are just kind of buying the buildings, and then all of the real art comes in how we stage it. And so, I'm not to the point where I'm like building houses and stuff. It's not like that for me at this point. But, so I spend a lot of time and technique that I applied in the past to that. And it turns out really well, and I'm really looking forward to this year, because this year will be my biggest display yet. It'll be twice the size of what I've done in the past, thanks to so many people who donated money very specifically to this particular event. This is an expensive thing to put on, right? Thousands and thousands. I mean, if I had to sit down and account for all of the money that has gone into this one event over the years, I mean, we're probably, I mean, if I had to just guess, I would say this, I've probably dropped something in the area of about $25,000 buying buildings, getting terrain, tools, glues, just everything that goes with it. But most of that is acquiring the actual pieces, the buildings, the figures, that kind of thing. And by itself, if you have one, like a lot of those are not that bad, right? You can get like a Halloween house for like 50, 60 bucks, something like that. If you want a big one, you have to spend about 100, 110, but you'll have it forever, right? And if you're into Christmas and you do Christmas villages, then this makes complete sense to you. It's such a larger market for Christmas than it is Halloween. Anyhow, I'm getting off track. The point is that I will be kind of posting things, little videos, whatever, about putting this year together, about that process. I wouldn't say it's a how-to because I don't feel like an expert. I'm just letting you in on the journey, okay? So you can just kind of see how I'm going to do my thing. And I think that's all I want to say right now until we get into it. So right now it is halfway through August. Technically, it's prime time season for this hobby, right? Like, I need to be out making sure that I've cleaned out the stores of their Halloween stuff. I already cleaned out Michael's. I got their whole line, but I still need to hit like Menards. So that's the other big one I need to kind of hit and see if their stuff is in. Last time I went, it wasn't in yet, or at least it wasn't on display. So I still got some work to do, still got some money to spend, and that doesn't even account for like all of the grass and the terrain and all of the, that stuff, which I usually get that from a train store so that my stuff looks real, right? Because the buildings don't. So, you kind of hit somewhere in the middle on my display. Anyhow, all right. I'll talk to you soon.